Served 3 years in prison, taking the fall for my wife. The day I got out, I found she'd teamed up with her lover to torment my daughter into depression and had driven my mother to her death. Since the law wouldn't give me justice, I'd tear off their masks of hypocrisy myself. This time, I'd make the whole internet watch exactly how villains should die. To save my wife, I was jailed for 3 years for aggravated assault. But my wife, Jessica Miller, had colluded with her lover, Kevin Sterling, to cruelly abuse our daughter and had even caused the death of my mother. Just thinking of my elderly, kind mother, tormented to death by them. And my obedient, adorable daughter, suffering all their beatings and abuse. The guilt was overwhelming, my clenched fists tightening so hard my knuckles felt like they would break. I wanted to kill them right then, even if it cost me my own life. The moment I pushed open the door at home, my 6-year-old daughter, Lily Davis, was kneeling on the floor. My wife, Jessica Miller, was yanking her hair, the cigarette but in her hand pressed hard into her back. On the sofa, the man was wearing only his boxers and shirtless, a twisted grin on his face. Beat this worthless little brat to death, always looking like a funeral, damn unlucky. Seeing this scene, my blood rushed straight to my head, without a second of hesitation. I lunged forward, kicking Jessica Miller flying, then with trembling hands, I scooped my injured daughter into my arms. Lily, Dad's home. My daughter's eyes were vacant, lifeless, like a dead sea devoid of any spark. She showed no emotion at all. My sudden appearance startled the two people in the room for a moment. Jessica Miller quickly recovered. Mark, when did you get out? Why didn't you tell me? My gaze swept coldly over her and landed on the man beside her, who wore a look of provocation. This man was Kevin Sterling, Jessica Miller's assistant since she started doing social media. Judging by their clothes and expressions, I was sure they were having an affair. But at that moment, I had no time to be angry about being cheated on. I was more concerned about my daughter, whom I hadn't seen in 3 years. I'll settle the score with you when I get back. I dropped the sentence, picked up Lily, and rushed straight to the hospital. 3 years ago, Jessica Miller got into a conflict while drinking at a bar. To save her, I unintentionally committed the crime of aggravated assault and was sentenced to 3 years and 5 months. Lily was only 3 years old the year I went to prison. Now 6, she was bony and small, weighing less than 30 pounds. When the nurse examined her, I saw her body was covered in blue and purple bruises, and black scars from cigarette burns. A total of 23 black scars from cigarette burns, each one burned deeply into my heart. The pain made my body tremble uncontrollably. My beloved daughter. The daughter I had cherished and protected since she was a baby, treated as a precious treasure, had been abused into this state by her own mother. How did she endure those countless painful nights, that small child? I couldn't imagine. And I didn't dare to. Besides the external injuries, what pained me most was the doctor's diagnosis. My daughter suffered from mild depression. A child barely 6 years old, an age when she should be laughing and playing with friends. Instead, she had completely shut herself off in a world of solitude. She refused to speak a single word. She didn't even show any extra expression, afraid to eat, afraid to sleep. And she would wet her pants from fright at any moment. It's fortunate she was brought in time. If it developed to moderate or severe, a child this young might not have been able to withstand it. Additionally, I suspect the child might have been sexually harassed. What? Sexual harassment? My mind exploded instantly, buzzing. I found slight redness and swelling in the child's private area, and large bruises on her chest, but sexual assault has been ruled out. It seems to be at the level of sexual harassment, and her psychological state has likely been severely damaged as a result. But we can't extract any evidence at the moment, it's only a suspicion. The doctor had never encountered such a case before. He sighed deeply, his eyes full of sympathy as he looked at Lily. My chest ached, my clenched fists trembled slightly, suppressing the anger and murderous intent in my heart. Then, can she be cured? When I spoke again, my voice was hoarse. Fortunately, the doctor nodded, his tone very certain. Don't worry, as long as the child persists with rehabilitation therapy and psychological counseling, she will definitely get better. I stood on the rooftop of the hospital, the cold wind whipping around me, my chaotic mind slowly clearing. Finally, I took out my phone and dialed the number I remembered. Hey, Tony, it's me. I need your help. Tony was a close friend I met in prison, someone well connected in all circles. He not only ran his own businesses but also had ties everywhere. He had been imprisoned for something and got into a conflict in prison, almost losing his life. I saved him, and we became close friends because of it. He got out of prison before me, released after serving his sentence a year ago. After hearing about Lily, his hot temper immediately flared up. Damn it, those two, that husband and wife, they dared to abuse my Lily. Mark, wait for me, I'll bring some guys and be right there. He was fast. Less than half an hour after hanging up, he appeared at the hospital. This is Maria, She used to be a professional caregiver. With her looking after Lily, you can rest assured, Mark. Tony looked big and rough, but his heart was surprisingly thoughtful. Now that Lily was being looked after for the time being, I could focus on settling the score with those 2B** cheese. When I arrived at home with Tony's guys, only Jessica Miller was there. Seeing me return, she came up with a fawning look. Mark, why didn't you tell me you were getting out? I would have come to pick you up. I pushed her away with a cold laugh. At that moment, even her touch felt disgusting. Tell her? I got out 3 months early, hoping to give her and Lily a surprise. I didn't expect her to give me such a big shock instead. She not only cheated on me but also abused my daughter. Such a poisonous woman, if not beaten now, when? I made a gesture, and Tony immediately understood, taking 2 brothers with him to dismantle the surveillance camera in the living room. Using the laptop they brought, they checked all the recent surveillance video footage. The camera was positioned near the shoe cabinet by the main door. I had installed it myself years ago, mainly to ensure my family's safety. Unexpectedly, the videos it recorded were full of images of my daughter, her tiny body curled up, kneeling on the floor, trembling. And every slap they threw, every cigarette butt they pressed, every kick they landed on my daughter. This was just what was captured by the camera's angle. What about outside the camera's view? How much more cruel and terrifying torture must there have been? In that moment, my heart was twisted in agony. The surveillance footage was still playing when, before I could react from my rage, a snippet of dialogue between the 2 people in the video suddenly caught my attention. We finally got rid of that old woman, and now there's this little good-for-nothing always wearing a deathly face, unlucky. Then came Jessica Miller's words coaxing Kevin Sterling, darling, just bear with it, these videos rely on this brat to attract fans now, we can't let her die. Jessica Miller had gotten into social media years ago, making lifestyle videos as a blogger. Kevin Sterling was her nominal assistant, we had even eaten and drunk together before. He actually slept with my wife while I was away and bullied my mother and daughter. 6 months ago, I received news in prison that my mother had suddenly died of illness, but I didn't expect she had been tormented to death by them. My mind reeled, and murderous intent surged. Jessica Miller also heard the dialogue. She immediately explained, don't misunderstand, Mom died of illness, it has nothing to do with me. As she spoke, she instinctively took 2 steps back, but the panic on her face betrayed her. I rushed over, grabbed her hair, and slapped her several times. Before I could make my next move, a brother from the small room pulled out Kevin Sterling, who had been hiding and watching. So, he had been hiding at home all along. Perfect, this pair of vicious lovers were together now, I could beat both animals at once. Kevin Sterling, this terrible devil, he almost ruined my daughter's life. If I had come back any later, if Lily had been any older, I couldn't imagine what else this devil would have done to her. I could no longer control myself, picking up an iron pipe and violently smashing the 2 people who were covering their heads. The 2B* cheese immediately screamed repeatedly, and then their mouths were stuffed. Kevin Sterling tried to fight back but was immediately kicked into submission by the 2 brothers beside him. Soon, the 2 on the ground were bruised and swollen, many wounds oozing bright red blood, kneeling and begging me for mercy. Jessica Miller clung to my leg, weakly crying out, I was wrong. I admit, I once loved her, treated her with utmost care, even humbled myself like a dog in front of her. I even risked my life for her, went to prison for her, and yet she didn't know how to cherish it. 100-degree boiling water will cool down, let alone a 37-degree human heart? From this moment on, all that past love and emotion vanished into thin air. Only hatred remained. Thinking of my elderly, kind mother, tormented to death by her. My obedient, adorable daughter, subjected to her beatings and abuse. My guilt reached its peak, my clenched fists felt like my knuckles were about to snap. I wished I could kill them right now, even if it cost me my own life. Mark, that's enough for now. Killing them wouldn't be worth it. Lily is waiting for you at the hospital. Tony, afraid I would lose control and accidentally kill them, quickly advised me. Right, my daughter was waiting for me, she only had me, her dad. I slowly dropped the iron pipe, stood by the window, and lit a cigarette, my mood slowly calming down. Killing them like this, trading my life for the lives of 2B* cheese, wasn't worth it. Death is too quick. What I wanted was for them to wish they were dead. But relying solely on a few sentences from the surveillance video, I couldn't convict them. To make them pay the price they deserved, it seemed I needed a long-term plan. I told Jessica Miller to be ready for divorce at any time, then threw all their belongings into the trash can. I kicked the 2B* cheese out. They naturally didn't dare to resist, even eager to get as far away from me as possible. I thought that after this beating today, they would at least lie low for a few days. But unexpected trouble soon arose. The next day, I had just returned home from the hospital, having bought groceries and chicken to cook for Lily. As soon as I got home, there were 2 or 3 large defamatory posters/signs by the door. At first glance, I thought someone had misplaced funerary items. When I walked closer to look, I nearly passed out from anger. Written on the posters were, "Abusive husband beats wife and child, deserves to die." "Animal abusive husband, go to hell soon." Every phrase was malicious, and my name was even there in black and white. Just then, Tony's call came through. "Mark, that B*TCH Jessica Miller has twisted the truth online, spreading rumors that you're abusive, and the video has gone viral." I tapped open the trending topics. Sure enough, the top item was Jessica Miller's video, tearfully crying. "My husband just got back after serving 3 years in prison, and as soon as he got home, he beat me and my daughter. My daughter is still in the hospital, covered in injuries, boo-hoo. He used to beat and scold us frequently even before he went to prison, which is why our child developed depression. He even kicked me out of the house to take the property." The injury on her forehead was shocking. For the video effect, she had deliberately deepened the color of the wound. In the video, she also specifically included a short clip of me slapping her, only 8 seconds long. This caused netizens in the comments section to flood with messages, sympathizing with her, encouraging her, comforting her, and cursing me, wave after wave. The angle of the video seemed to be from when Kevin Sterling was hiding in the room and secretly filming that day when I didn't find him. It was only 8 seconds long. But in the eyes of netizens, it was enough to nail me bloodily to the pillar of shame, wanting to tear me apart 1,000 times. The story of a hot mom and daughter suffering long-term abuse by the husband, whose child even developed depression because of it, ruining her childhood. As soon as this video came out, it instantly hit the trends. Even worse, some people directly dug up my personal information and address. My phone was suddenly flooded with countless abusive texts and calls. "Animal, scumbag, you deserve to die. Abusive husband, go to hell in a pot of oil. You won't even spare your own daughter, are you even human?" I rubbed my throbbing temples. Only after turning off my phone did I find a moment of peace. Tony, seeing he couldn't reach me, directly brought me a new SIM card. Mark, that B*TCH is a social media influencer herself and has quite a few followers. This wave has gained her a lot more followers, and she's cashing in on a sob story via livestream every day, saying she's earning money to treat Lily. Haha, I originally thought that B*TCH was just trying to discuss me online and get netizens to cyberbully me. I didn't expect her real goal was to go viral and gain a following and cash in through this incident. What a brilliant mind. Kevin Sterling must have been advising her behind the scenes. But did she forget? Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Tony asked, "Do you want to post the videos of her abusing Lily?" I shook my head and refused. No, let her enjoy herself for a few days first. Only the higher she climbs, the harder she will fall. Lily's rehabilitation therapy began. The doctor said that with family companionship, the treatment would be more effective. I had no choice but to put aside my hatred for now, ignore the outside world, and focus on staying at the hospital to accompany my daughter. I let Tony keep an eye on Jessica Miller's side. The hospital nurse had also seen Jessica Miller's video. She had witnessed how good I was to the child and naturally didn't believe those online rumors. She listened to me tell Lily's story, her eyes turning red, and she couldn't help but shed tears. Even the person listening to the story cried, so how much sadder must the people in the story have been? Afterward, the nurse posted several videos of me carefully looking after Lily, but they were quickly reported and taken down. "Mr. Davis, they are too despicable. Don't worry, the truth will surface one day." While indignant, she didn't forget to cheer me on and comfort me. I was very happy. It seemed there were still many discerning and kind people in this world. I told her to be patient. Once Lily's condition improved, I would naturally fight them and defeat them. Soon, Jessica Miller, leveraging the kindness and sympathy of netizens, sold out products repeatedly through promoting products and live streaming. Some small brand merchants quickly caught wind of this and rushed to collaborate. In less than half a month, she rapidly opened a studio/office for her personal account and made a fortune. Tony couldn't stand seeing me slandered and couldn't help but leave a few comments in the comment section to explain. But just a few lines of explanation were insignificant and were instantly buried by new comments from netizens. The netizens' insults and cyberbullying continued. When observing, everyone saw themselves as wise. They stood on the moral high ground, pointing fingers at others without asking for right or wrong. But I didn't care. I smiled and told Tony to stay calm. Then I saved all the videos Jessica Miller used to smear me, as well as the records of those indiscriminate abusive comments. These would all become weapons for me to strike back at them later. Reputation was just that. As long as I didn't care, it wouldn't hurt me. What I wanted was for her, for them, to pay the price they deserved. My lawyer said, their actions have had a serious negative impact on society. Even if they admit their wrongdoing, they'll still have to serve at least half a year. Only half a year? That's nowhere near enough. I wanted her to face utter ruin. I couldn't let her off easily. Through Tony's connections, I contacted a small company and had them pretend to be a collaborating partner to approach Jessica Miller to discuss a promotional live streaming deal. To make her fall for it quickly, the agreed-upon promotion fee was a guaranteed $500,000 plus a high percentage of sales. With a high promotion fee, the penalty for breach of contract was naturally astronomical. That be *TCH Jessica Miller didn't disappoint. Seeing such high earnings, she signed the contract without batting an eye. She didn't know she had stepped, step by step, into the hell I had woven for her myself. Later, under Kevin Sterling's direction, Jessica Miller secretly created several fan groups. Using the excuse of raising money for Lily's medical treatment, she appealed to her fans to donate money to her. Are people really that easy to fool now? Will they donate? I felt a bit speechless. After serving 3 years in prison, I hadn't realized the world had changed so much. Tony scoffed. People nowadays have nothing better to do and just love to blindly follow trends. I secretly joined the groups with a burner account and saw many people donating 100 or 200, and several big donors gave 10 or 20,000 directly. Including transfers via payment apps, the total amount from several groups combined is estimated to reach over $1 million. Watching Jessica Miller go further and further down the path of self-destruction, I even started to laugh. An opportunity handed to me on a silver platter, why wouldn't I take it? I decisively screenshotted and saved all the donation transfers in the groups. Presumably, seeing that I hadn't come looking for trouble for so long, that pair of B*cheese grew bolder and started causing trouble again. While I was out cooking, they sneaked into Lily's hospital room. Maria, who was looking after Lily, happened to be in the bathroom. Jessica Miller, feigning concern, fed Lily some fruit, while Kevin Sterling was responsible for filming video material. Lily was scared when she saw them and trembled, refusing to open her mouth. Jessica Miller slapped her face. You little B*TCH, don't be ungrateful. Your mother is personally feeding you, and you won't eat. Hurry up and perform well, or I'll beat you to death. Lily was terrified and instinctively cooperated for 2 or 3 videos. After filming, she pulled out the needle that was in the foredrip and tried to carry the child away. Fortunately, Maria returned and discovered the two trying to abduct the child and stopped them. The two claimed they were just visiting the child. Only when they saw Maria calling me did they curse and swear as they escaped. Maria lifted the blanket and saw that the sheet underneath was damp. When I rushed over, Lily's small body was curled up on the hospital bed, her eyes filled with terror, her body trembling all over. Her condition, which had finally improved, worsened instantly. I could no longer control my urge to kill. I called Tony and went to find them with his men. When we found Jessica Miller at the bar, she was swaying under the neon lights of the dance floor, wearing a sexy short skirt. The next second, she was dragged into a private room by the men Tony brought, her mouth covered. The door to the private room slammed shut. Who are you? Help! Help! Jessica Miller was terrified and screamed at the top of her lungs. A burly man grabbed her hair and slapped her face several times. He hit her so hard that blood streamed from her mouth. I sat on the sofa, looking at her coldly. You went to see Lily today. Only then did she see me on the sofa, and she was so frightened that tears and snot flowed down her face, her mouth opened, and saliva mixed with blood dribbled out. I won't dare again. Mark, please, let me go. I felt disgusted listening to her. Who the hell was her husband? Seeing me frown, the burly man didn't say a word, went up and slapped her twice again, then took off a sock and stuffed it into her mouth. I lit a cigarette and handed it to the burly man. He grabbed her by the neck, pinning her struggling hands under his foot. After taking a deep drag, he pressed the cigarette but directly onto her hand. Lifted it, then pressed it down again. Just 5 holes, and Jessica Miller was already convulsing and her veins were popping out from the pain. Then how much deadly pain must my daughter have endured with 23 cigarette burns on her body? All I was doing was returning everything she had done to my daughter, measure for measure. She had no right to refuse. And no right to beg for mercy. Perhaps one of Jessica Miller's friends who was with her called the police and also notified her parents. David and Susan Miller, Jessica's parents, and the police quickly rushed into the private room. Seeing Jessica Miller's face swollen like a pig's head and lying on the floor, her hand covered in fresh cigarette burns. Her mother cried as she hugged her daughter, her eyes blazing red as she glared at me and cursed, "You dog, how can you be so cruel? She's your wife after all, you convict, you murderer, you deserve to die." Listen to that tone, exactly the same as the expression she had when cursing me in the video Jessica Miller filmed. As if I had really killed her whole family and dug up their ancestors' graves, a person who had committed the most heinous crimes. Jessica Miller's parents knew about her causing my mother's death and abusing my daughter. But not only did they not stop or educate her, they even aided and abetted her. When she was filming videos in her live stream claiming I was abusive and distorting the facts, they even added fuel to the fire to smear me. I hadn't gone looking for them, but they had come looking for me. Good. The police officer asked me sternly, "What's going on? Did you hit her?" I acted innocent, "Officer, I was just passing by, simply watching the show." But she probably deserved it, otherwise, why would people hit her and not others? After speaking, I smiled and raised my eyebrows at Jessica Miller's father. The police officer's frown deepened. The burly man who had done the hitting stepped forward. "I hit her." Her father froze for a moment, then glared at me viciously. "It was all instigated by you, you animal." I sneered, lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, and ignored him. The police officer had no choice but to ask the burly man, "Why did you hit her?" "I didn't like her." "No reason, just didn't like her." As the burly man was being handcuffed, David and Susan Miller, Jessica's parents, were frantic, trying to threaten him. "This is serious injury, you'll go to prison. Quickly say who ordered you." "Prison?" The burly man chuckled, calmly taking out a piece of paper from his pocket. "But I have a mental illness." Someone in the crowd couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. The burly man also started laughing. "I have a mental illness, understand? I can kill people, you know." Hearing that the other person had a mental illness, her father's face turned completely black. He was so scared he hid behind the police officer. Even after the burly man was taken away by the police, his body still trembled uncontrollably, afraid someone would come back and stab him. Jessica Miller was sent to the hospital. I heard that when her pants were taken off, there was a pile of foul-smelling yellow and white discharge inside. It was so pungent it made the nurses dizzy, and even her parents covered their noses and stayed far away. A few more days passed, and my daughter's condition finally stabilized. Only then did I have time to draft a divorce agreement and mail it to Jessica Miller. Since the last beating, she had been hiding at home like a coward. Upon receiving the letter, she quickly replied, saying she would agree to the divorce, but Lily must go with her. I laughed. Where did she get that confidence? Jessica Miller wanting to fight for custody of Lily was definitely not because she couldn't bear to part with her. In these 3 years, they had used Lily in videos to create the image of a good mother. Lily had become an indispensable part of her account, so she naturally wouldn't give up custody. And there was no way I would let my daughter continue to be her puppet for cashing in. She wants custody of my daughter? In her dreams. Since she wanted to make me miserable, how could I let her have an easy time? News came from Tony that Jessica Miller had used the money she recently earned to buy Kevin Sterling a BMW worth nearly $600,000. I heard they had even gone to try on wedding dresses. It seemed they were planning to get married as soon as she divorced me. But Jessica Miller didn't know. Kevin Sterling was driving the new BMW she bought around, picking up women, and had already hooked up with a married woman. I anonymously sent Jessica Miller photos of Kevin Sterling and the woman kissing in the car, along with high-definition, uncensored videos of their passion, and I also sent a copy to the married woman's husband. Jessica Miller was so angry she got into a huge fight with Kevin Sterling, arguing fiercely. But Kevin Sterling held a lot of dirt on her, and for the sake of her account, she ultimately chose to swallow her anger and resentment. Even when the married woman's husband brought people to smash up the studio/office, Jessica Miller was the one who paid the $200,000 in compensation. After this incident, Kevin Sterling didn't curb his behavior. Instead, he became even more brazen. He even dared to hook up with young girls from the studio/office right in front of Jessica Miller. Jessica Miller still didn't dare to get angry, swallowing all her grievances. And I enjoyed witnessing a classic case of them turning on each other. After a period of treatment, my daughter's condition showed visible improvement. But she still refused to speak. When she was with me, she would weakly take my small hand and occasionally tremble uncontrollably. I knew that to become a completely new person, she was also secretly working hard. It was just that in countless nights, she would wake up from nightmares, crying out in a cold sweat. The terrifying memories of those 3 years had become a nightmare, transforming into demons in the dead of night, re-grabbing her throat. I started guarding her every night, holding her the second she woke up startled. Telling her, "Lily, don't be afraid, Dad is here." Day after day like this, after a few days, she was finally able to sleep through the night peacefully. I finally had time to deal with that B*TCH. I handed over all the evidence I had collected during this time, including the videos she posted online twisting the facts and smearing me. And all her statements deliberately leading netizens to cyberbully me, to the police. My lawyer also called to inform me that the court hearing for the divorce case between Jessica Miller and me would be held in 2 days. He asked me, "Mr. Davis, you can tell me any other requests you have. She caused me to serve time, killed my mother, cheated on me, and abused my daughter with her lover. I said, I want her stripped of all marital assets, ruined, and to meet a terrible end. Jessica Miller's family must have gotten the news and were probably scared. David and Susan Miller, Jessica's parents, showed up at my door, carrying bags of toys and snacks. When they knocked, I was in the kitchen making cookies, as a family activity, with Lily. What do you want? When I opened the door and saw them, my face instantly darkened. Lily's condition had improved and was currently stable. I didn't want her to be subjected to any stimulation. Jessica Miller's mother said with a fawning smile, Mark, we've come to see Lily. Yes, we haven't seen our granddaughter in so long, we miss her terribly, her father chimed in appropriately, pushing the door open, trying to get inside. I blocked them directly. No need, you're not welcome here. Please leave. Also, I'm not your son-in-law anymore, stop yelling that nonsense. Seeing my firm attitude, the old couple exchanged glances, suppressing their anger. They knew I had never treated them with this attitude before, it was always they who gave me dirty looks. Now they didn't dare to turn hostile towards me and still smiled awkwardly. You and Jessica have so many years of history, how can you just break it off? Don't worry, as long as you two make up in the family of 3 lives well, I'll make sure Jessica breaks up with Kevin Sterling. I could only laugh listening to this. They were truly shameless old fools, their own daughter did such a thing, and they still had the nerve to say something like that. I was afraid Lily was getting impatient waiting, so I couldn't be bothered to waste words with them. I just cursed "get lost" and locked the door. Through the door, I heard the old couple finally lose it, kicking the door in frustration. Their curses were faintly audible. You dog, fine, divorce is divorce. You want my daughter stripped of all marital assets? Dream on. I curse you and that little brat to be hit by a car when you go out. The two of them, one after another, stood at the door shouting curses for a long time. Finally, Brenda, the neighbor across the hall, couldn't stand it anymore and opened her door, throwing a basin of water on them. Can you believe the nerve? First time I've ever seen grandparents curse their own granddaughter like that. You wicked old fools, get lost. The woman across the hall had a fiery temper, she had probably seen Jessica Miller and Kevin Sterling hitting the child before. So she hated that pair of lovers to the core and naturally wouldn't give them a pleasant look. The two old fools finally left, looking thoroughly disgraced. An online influencer fabricating false information and deliberately using her daughter to gain netizens' sympathy and money is all illegal. The police station took this case very seriously, even collaborating with the local cyber police to heavily promote anti-fraud online. Online public opinion in today's society is just that magical. When all the evidence was laid bare, the fabricated rumors fell apart on their own, and the narrative flipped instantly. The netizens who were blindly following the crowd and constantly cursing me just moments before, now all stood on my side. Suddenly, Jessica Miller's account lost followers drastically, and countless abusive private messages flooded in. All the products sold through Livestream Promotions received large numbers of refund requests. Many people even chose to request refunds only, with the reason being, fraudulent streamer deserves to die. The merchants who had collaborated with Jessica Miller's account were in mourning overnight, suffering heavy losses. They all rushed to Jessica Miller's studio/office, blocking the entrance and demanding compensation for breach of contract. Meanwhile, Jessica Miller was sitting in the defendant's seat opposite me, her eyes filled with venom, staring fixedly at me. Stripped of all marital assets? I don't agree, she shrieked, and was quickly pulled back by her lawyer beside her. I smiled coldly, couldn't be bothered to say a word to her, and left it all to my lawyer. Ms. Jessica Miller had an affair with her male assistant, Kevin Sterling. Here are all the evidence and information for the judge to verify. Furthermore, Ms. Jessica Miller and her lover together abused their biological daughter, Lily Davis, leading to Lily Davis suffering from childhood depression. Here is the evidence of child abuse and the hospital's diagnosis report. All the evidence was presented to the presiding judge. I saw the judge's tightly furrowed brows and the flicker of compassion in his eyes as he watched the video. Even a stranger would feel pity seeing a child beaten and abused like that. But Jessica Miller, the child's own mother, was so vicious that she remained expressionless, not even feeling she had done anything wrong. She was completely unfit to be a mother. Even more unfit to be a human being. Jessica Miller was still arguing, AI video technology is so powerful now, you can't convict me based on videos alone. The court hesitated because although the videos were brutal to watch, they didn't show the abuser's face clearly, making identification difficult. Just as Jessica Miller was looking smug, Lily, who had been sitting silently in the audience, suddenly stood up. Those videos are real. They hit me every day. The entire courtroom fell silent. All eyes were focused on Lily. My heart felt like it was being ripped apart, the intense pain suffocating me. Since I had returned, no matter what I said or did, Lily hadn't spoken a single word. This was the first sentence she had spoken. The testimony of the person directly involved was undoubtedly the best proof. Now there was no more opportunity for anyone else to argue. I am her mother, occasionally disciplining her when she did something wrong isn't abuse. It's her own weak mindset that caused her depression. What does it have to do with me? Don't you dare slander me. Seeing the situation was unfavorable for her side, Jessica Miller broke free from her lawyer's grip and stood up, blustering. Her lawyer had originally intended to say more, but seeing her acting like this, he simply gave up. For such a vicious woman who abused her own daughter, the lawyer felt genuine hatred deep down and subconsciously didn't want to help her. Thus, the entire lawsuit resulted in a complete victory. The court directly ruled that Jessica Miller would be stripped of all marital assets and custody of Lily would go to me. But this was only the first step. The most spectacular part was yet to come. Because phones had to be turned off during the court hearing, Jessica Miller perfectly missed the barrage of calls to her studio/office. As she walked out of the court, grinding her teeth in anger, a police car blocked her path. Ms. Jessica Miller? You are suspected of online fraud and illegally obtaining money. Please come with us. Jessica Miller was stunned, unable to react, and was escorted into the car by the police. The police car sped away before my eyes. I held Lily's hand as we stood outside the court, feeling her small hand tremble slightly. I knelt down and pulled my daughter into my embrace. Lily, don't be afraid. Dad will always protect you and won't let anyone hurt you again. After a long while, those small hands finally held onto me tightly, and her soft whimpering slowly grew louder. It was as if, at this moment, she was releasing all the grievances and pain she had endured for 3 years, transforming them into tears to cleanse her body. A man's tears should not fall easily, but I could no longer hold back. I cried with my daughter in my arms. Jessica Miller painstakingly climbed to the moral high ground, using society's kindness and blind conformity to shoot at me. But this bullet, after piercing through layers of fog, ultimately shot back at herself. 3 days later, the police had solid evidence. Because the matter was exceptionally vile and caused a public outcry and negative impact online. Coupled with the evidence I provided regarding the abuse of my mother leading to her death, Jessica Miller was directly sentenced to 4 years in prison. And she had to return all the donated money. Jessica Miller's studio/office announced bankruptcy the next day, and piles of penalty fees were all pushed onto her parents, especially the contract I had intentionally had someone sign. The penalty for breach was as high as $1 million. Just after receiving the news of Jessica Miller's imprisonment, before they could recover, they received news that she owed a huge amount in penalty fees. Jessica Miller's mother was so frightened she had a stroke and lay in bed, incontinent. After countless creditors blocked their door, her father was forced to sell the only house they owned. He also took out the old couple's life savings, accumulated over half a lifetime, to barely manage to pay back all the penalty fees. Jessica Miller's father grew more and more resentful, but he couldn't contend with me, so he tried every possible way to corner Kevin Sterling. He wanted to get back the BMW Jessica Miller had just bought for him. Kevin Sterling was a shrewd man. Long before Jessica Miller's studio/office ran into trouble, he had completely distanced himself. Now, returning the car was even more impossible. During their argument, Kevin Sterling was provoked into a frenzy and kicked him. The old man fell headfirst to the ground, his head hitting the curb as he fell, and he died on the spot. It happened in broad daylight, with surveillance cameras around. Kevin Sterling had no chance to escape. A passerby called the police, and he was quickly taken to the police station. For involuntary manslaughter, he was directly sentenced to 8 years and 3 months in prison. Indeed, the truth of the world never deceives me. Karma is real. What goes around comes around. It may take time, but retribution always finds its mark. Just after dealing with Jessica Miller, the others met their retribution before I even needed to act. All of this was nothing but their own undoing. Under my careful care, 6 months later, Lily's condition was completely under control. She finally put on her school bag again, waved goodbye with a smile, and turned resolutely to enter the school. Later, many friends praised my daughter for having a good temper and being gentle. They didn't know how much grievance and hardship she had endured to develop this so-called good temper. I hated this kind of good temper. How much I wished she could occasionally get angry at me, could bravely resist and not back down when she encountered bad people. But I have confidence. Time flows steadily, she is healing, and she will heal herself.